Appearance and events, places and people exist only in the imagination of the writer Laurie Miller. Any similarity to actual persons and places without satirical purposes is purely coincidental.
Seven BU presents. Gosh, I thought it'd never finish. Now, where was I? 7BU presents a satirical dramatic comedy science fiction play entitled Tasmania, the Apple Isle. Peel first. Subtitled, Here Are the Pips for 7 o'clock. Playing the newsreader and assistant, you'll hear Laurie Miller. As Mr. James, you'll hear Ray Kerr. The part of Mr. Head is played by Bill Shanks.
Starring Bill Shanks, do you mind?
Oh, sorry, starring Bill Shanks. While the narrator and Mr. Bond is played by Sam Gallier. One morning, on the 7BU Brekkie Show, this was heard.
At 7BU Advocate News Time.
Oops, sorry about that. In just a moment we'll,
Yes, so well. Nothing unusual. As I was saying, one morning on the 7BU Brekkie Show, this was heard.
It's 7BU Advocate News Time.
Here is the morning news. An unconfirmed report reached us a few moments ago that following investigations of a secret nature conducted from Burnie over the last 24 hours, evidence has shown that the island of Tasmania is moving away from the mainland at an alarming rate. This was apparently first noticed in recent weeks when the Princess of Tasmania has taken more and more time to cross the Bass Strait each trip. When, yesterday, 3 aircraft were forced to return to Melbourne because they couldn't find Wynyard, curiosity was aroused, and experts were called in to find out what was happening. At this moment, an important meeting concerning these findings of the experts is being held behind closed doors at the Burnie Town Hall. Sea and air fares are likely to rise within the next few days. Other news in this...
Why are we holding this meeting behind closed doors?
Because it's too drafty with the doors open, you fool. Sit down and let's get on with it. Now, I am Mr. Empty Head, in charge of this inquiry. Now, this is my assistant, Mr... We'll forget all about him for the time being. You two men must be the experts we called in.
Yes, sir. I'm James, and this is Mr. Bond.
How do you do, sir?
James and Bond, eh? Seems familiar somehow. But carry on. What are your findings?
Well, sir, following tests carried out in the Bass Strait under the guidance of Mr. James and myself, we have good reason to believe that the telegraph cables between Melbourne and here are all that is holding Tasmania to the mainland.
Yes, sir.
Heavens.
But the most alarming thing is the cause of this. Investigations we made in a deep-sea diving bell show that,
Go on, man, go on.
Well, sir, it may sound a little incredible.
I'll be the judge of that. Get on with it, man.
You tell him, Bond.
Well, all right. Our investigations show that Tasmania is... Well, it's actually a fertile growth which is on the back of a giant prehistoric turtle which has been dormant for millions of years and has now awoken and begun to walk away.
Incredible. Did you hear that, man?
What? Where am I? What's going on?
Tasmania is going, that's what's going. The whole place is going to the South Pole.
You mean snow and all that?
Of course, what do you think Antarctic is? Ice cream?
I got an idea. We could turn Mount Street into a ski run, convert the mill to a luxury chalet, and grab all that tourist trade. And wait a minute. With all that snow, we won't be able to grow apples. We'll lose our image as the Apple Isle. We'll...
For goodness sake, man, stop carrying on. This is a national crisis. Don't you understand? Well, gentlemen, what are we to do?
Well, sir, the only solution we can think of is to devise some way to control the turtle's direction, so that we may turn him north. Perhaps if we took us far enough north, say somewhere off the Queensland coast, the warm water may lull him into sleep. And then you could open up shop and competition to Hayman Island as a tourist resort.
Good thinking there, man, good thinking. Which way is the animal facing anyway?
Its head is pointing towards the mainland, so at the moment, the turtle is moving backward. Mr. James and I are of the opinion that he may be just sort of stretching after his long sleep, and he may start to move forward back towards the mainland at any time.
Well, gentlemen, the best thing to do, I believe, is for you to return to the diving bell and go down and watch the turtle for any sign of change of direction. Now, if you do notice a northward movement, let me know at once, and I will notify the Tourist Bureau to prepare travel brochures for
Tasmania, Paradise Isle of the Tropics. The holiday for fun in the sun without mun.
Hi there, May.
Marcia, what are you doing here?
Aye, all right, get it. You're on the air now.
Oh, but don't breathe a word of this to anyone, will you? The next thing you know, King Island will want to come with us. Good day, gentlemen.
Now, next morning, as the 7BU breakfast announcer comes into the studio, he glances out the window, across the bay.
Great Scott! The sea has dried up or something. Where did all that land come from? Wait a minute, there's some signs and buildings on it. Where are those binoculars? Ah, here. What's that they say? L.U. Luna Park? St Kilda Road? Good heavens, it's Melbourne! Let's see, what did I do last night? No, I went straight to bed. I'd better check on this. Wait, there's a news item just come through on the teleprinter. I'd better put it over as a news flash. The giant turtle, which has been carrying Tasmania southwards on its back, turned north early last night and headed back toward the mainland. In the early hours of this morning, the turtle struck its head on Port Melbourne Station Pier and knocked itself unconscious, possibly for 1,000 years. The result of this is that the cities of Melbourne and Burnie are now separated only by a small channel. It is rumoured that Melbourne will be renamed Burnie and the twin cities will become the capital of the Commonwealth. Sea and air fares have fallen, mainly due to the fact that one can now rove from Burnie to Melbourne in 15 minutes.
So don't be surprised if one morning you wake up to see South Melbourne in the bay, or perhaps the South Pole, as long as it's not South Vietnam. You've been listening to a play presented by the 7BU announcers. You heard Laurie Miller, Bill Shanks, Ray Kerr, and Sam Galliard. The 7BU staff wish you a very happy New Year and all the best. Hey! What's
And now it's time for us to meet members of the 7BU staff. First of all, the General Manager of the Tasmanian Broadcasting Network, Mr. Lord.
As we approach the start of the new year, 1967, I welcome this opportunity to express the grateful thanks of the management of the Tasmanian Broadcasting Network, which incorporates stations 7BU, 7AD and 7SD, and of 7BU in particular, for the continued support which we've received from listeners and clients alike during 1966. As we are a purely commercial operation, we depend for our very existence on revenue obtained from advertisers, who in turn are encouraged to advertise on radio when you buy radio advertised goods. To enable us to more effectively serve our listeners and our advertisers, even in the most remote areas of this part of the state, 7BU, in association with our sister station at Devonport, has during the year installed modern, efficient transmitters and aerial systems, giving us both the same power as that employed by the capital city stations in Brisbane, Adelaide, Perth and so on. Together with similar work carried out at Scottsdale last year, our stations now represent a tremendously powerful communications medium, certainly the most powerful in this state. In addition, we have completely remodelled our studio facilities and have recently installed the very latest automatic cassette recorders. Of course, all these facilities would amount to very little without the people to operate them. And it is in this area that I want to pay a very special tribute to all my associates at 7BU and at the other stations for the wonderful job which they've done. I'm not going to mention names. You know who they are. They have all done their work well, and I'm sure that with the plans which we have in hand for 1967, you will continue to be very happy with the job that they are doing. May I, in conclusion, wish you all, our listeners, our clients, those who've helped us in so many ways, and all those associated with me, the very best of good luck and good health in 1967. Thank you for this opportunity of speaking to you.
Thank you, Mr. Lord, the General Manager of the Tasmanian Broadcasting Network. And now next up, our Assistant Manager, and I guess better known to you as our 7BU sporting commentator, Jim Trethewey.
Well, thank you, Ray. It hardly seems like 12 months since we were all gathered before this microphone, way back in 1965. But nonetheless, it is 12 months. I hope that the past year has been quite a successful one for you, and I'm joining with all the staff in wishing every one of you that, 1967 will be a year to remember as far as you're concerned, a year of good fortune, good health, and all the very best. So, from me to you, a very happy New Year.
Thank you very much, Jim Trethewey. And now let's introduce you to the female members of the 7BU staff. First up, our Manager's Secretary, Carol Townsend.
Thank you, Ray. I'd like to take this opportunity of wishing all our many sponsors and listeners a very happy new year, and may it also be a very prosperous one for each and every one.
Our girl in charge of the library and who does a very fine job of picking our programs is Mary Ann West.
I'd just like to wish everyone a happy new year and all the very best for 1967.
Our copywriter at 7BU is Sally Gale.
I'd like to wish everybody a happy and prosperous 1967.
Our girl at the inquiries office, who always has a smiling face, is Chlorine Byard.
I'd like to wish everybody a very happy new year, and all our listeners too. Thanks, Ray.
Thanks very much, Chlorine. And next up is the girl that supplies us all with the copy and makes sure the copy's there to go on the air, Muriel Richardson.
Thanks, Ray. I would like to take this opportunity of wishing all our listeners a very happy new year and all the best in 1967.
And one of the newest members to the 7BU staff is our girl in ledgers, Antoinette Code.
Thanks, Ray. I would like to wish everybody all the very best for 1967.
Thank you very much, Antoinette. And so much for the female members of the 7BU staff. And now let's turn to the male members. And from the sales department, here is Dennis Moore.
Thank you, Ray. I'd just like to wish all our listeners and clients a very happy and successful 1967.
Have Breaking with Larry Miller every morning and see what he sounds with his New Year's greeting. Larry, what have you got to say for yourself?
Thanks, Ray. I'd also like to take this opportunity of wishing all our listeners a very happy new year and all the best in 1967.
The morning show host is Sam Gallier. And Sam, wish everybody a happy new year.
Good, thank you, Ray. I guess everything about the new year has been said, so I'd just like to wish everybody all the best for New Year. Hope it goes as well for you as the last year has for me, and hope all your plans turn out in 1967. Thank you very much.
Bill Shanks now next along, our afternoon and evening host. Let's say we hop on, Shanks.